Oh, yes, it's been a while. It's been a while since Jeremy Booth, the general manager, and I were on extra bases with Bristol and Booth. Jeremy, where did you have this picture stored? And
in my phone.
This to me was like one of the best things, one of the best ideas I had come up with for Sports Extra. But yet I feel it was I was kind of rethinking that decision after you posted it.
Well, I don't know. I like it. I think it was pretty good. It's got has a lot of character to it. Now this is 2022, and I believe that was 2019. So it's been a couple of years now. But it's one of the better pictures that we had. Great idea. Here's another one. It's in my phone.
Uh-huh.
You and me.
Yeah, I remember that. That was in the newsroom.
Yep. And let's see. There's one more in here that was absolutely classic from the World Series that I saw earlier.
Jeremy changes his avatar more than a 16-year-old girl trying to get a modeling contract.
Look at that. You and me right there. How perfect are those faces? That's awesome. We're sitting outside and we're like Scherzer.
So now that we're roughly 24 hours away from Major League Baseball and the players announcing that there is no deal, that the first week or so of the season has been canceled, has anything surprised you regarding the reactions we're seeing on social media and from either the players or the league?
No. The only thing that has surprised me is I saw that the basketball, the NBA, MLBPA, right, came out and supported, basketball players supported their brothers in the Players Association with the MLBPA. I don't know that I've seen too much of that before. That was pretty unique. And that's something that I think, when you talk about damage to the game and you talk about who's responsible, you talk about public opinion, different than 1994 when we hit this low point in the game, right? Different than then. You now have something where it's pretty unanimous that this is on the owners. It's pretty unanimous. This wasn't something that, where before it was kind of like a difference of opinion, or it was players are spoiled babies, or a number of things you could say. This is pretty unanimous, even to the point where other leagues think they have a chance to say something. Now, look, at the same time, baseball has an antitrust exemption these other leagues don't have. And baseball has a lot of things as far as being able to create a legal monopoly that these other leagues don't have. They do things like, put profits under food and beverage companies that they have that all funnel up to, like the Braves did, not the Braves, somebody else did this. So food and beverage profits, and it's under X, and then, the money still gets paid, paid to the Braves. You know how I know they do that? Jason, this is really good information here, right? I know they do that because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I got some brain cells. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And we got a bunch of different entities that do a bunch of different things, and all of it's owned by a parent company. So technically, yeah, this made this and that made that and that made that, but it's all flowed to the same group. So that's just business 101. I mean, that's not even that tough to figure out. And the players are aware, and the players are very smart. This is a different generation of Major League Baseball players, and they are starting to take seriously what the ones who went before them did, and this is where they are. So no, I don't have any surprises out there. I think that it's, again, unanimous that the owners are at fault, and that's pretty unique.
See, I am surprised by the amount of comments I see. For example, comments under the story or a story about how Lance McCullers, his since deleted tweet saying that the owners created the issues here, that they've been lying. And I'm just surprised by some of the comments from fans going after the players. And it's easy, right? Because they see the salaries and they see tens of millions of dollars to be playing a kid's game and how lucky you are. And, come work a real job. Jeff Passan from ESPN, I think, really laid it out beautifully with this. Take the next 1,200 baseball players in the world and put them into Major League Baseball, take the first 1,200 out, and the game would be remarkably different. much worse. And if you take the next 30, remove the 30 owners from baseball and then put 30 other businessmen or business people, business leaders as owners, game might actually be better.
I really agree with the second one. You know, I think that these owners, and this is a blanket statement, it's not singling anyone out. I think these owners have done a terrible job of putting the wrong people in power, of listening to the wrong people as far as how the game's going to be run, how it's going to be evaluated. I mean, they could not have done a worse job in who they selected to lead these teams and guide them on what they're doing. What I mean by that is that this all comes down to player worth, right? It all comes down to how we're valuing people. It all comes down to fair share of the dollar. And in business, it doesn't hurt. It's not wrong for anybody to try to get as much as they can out of those dollars. That's part of negotiations. But at the end of the day, treating the players and treating really everybody else in the stadiums like they have, and having such disdain for the fans, regardless of what they say, just disdain for the people that are coming to the ballpark every day and making all this possible, you know what? Outside of the very start of this thing, it's probably unprecedented, right? Now, that said, the fans have a chance to have been very, very tough in some ways. I guess I just ignore that, because I understand. Well, look, I mean, I'm the bitter ex-scout, right? I'm so salty, I mean, it's like, Morton Salt, they redid their packaging. It was a picture of me on the front, I mean, that's how we did it. And I don't understand, why these guys have such the feelings that they do. But at the same time, some fans have a tendency to feel like they own the players, that because it's their team and they're pulling for their team and they're supporting their team, that they own the players' time, they own the players day to day, that the players have to do what they want them to do, and they think it's their unalienable right because they buy a ticket to go to at this point, and I have heard this be abusive. And that's not the case. You don't get to abuse people because you have greater access. If anything, you should enjoy the fact these players take their time to communicate with you on social media or face-to-face because you're such a strong fan of your team, right? Take that time to connect, identify, and be supportive instead of being, lack of a better way of putting it, such jerks about things.
I mean, here's some of the comments. Quit lying, all you rich players. You love the money more so if you don't like it, quit and find another job. This wimp needs to put the blame where it belongs, on him and the other players. That's why, then why do you keep asking for more money? Just do it for fun and give the fans a chance to enjoy the game. Funny, he deactivates his Twitter because he doesn't want to hear or read the fallout of his statement. Weak, fragile little man. Same way he couldn't nut up and pitch in the World Series, which is actually ridiculous because
wait a minute.
Because we have since learned, as Lance did a interview with an aspiring broadcaster in the area, that basically his tendon was torn off the bone. I think that's what he said. So it boggles my mind. Like, all of us, for the most part, Jeremy, are labor. All of us are labor. And yes, those guys, those guys are labor as well. And there have been a couple of players who have said, listen, yes, we make a lot of money, but we're labor just like you. And it is, again, it just boggles my mind about how, and I know it's easy because these guys are playing a kid's game and they're the ones that are out in front. It's not the owners. So they're going to take a lot of brunt. They're going to take the brunt of a lot of this. But I'm just really surprised, given that fans now are probably more knowledgeable than they ever have been, that there are so many so many takes like this. Now, my guess is those are more fair weather fans. But again, I'm just that is something that has surprised me.
I think those fans are bitter. I think they're upset. I think they like to yell at people for things. I mean, I think that, again, feeling like because you buy a ticket, you have the ability to heap abuse on somebody. Now, let's talk about any profession in the planet. Let's talk about mine. Let's talk about yours. Let's talk about being a postal worker. Let's talk about being an attorney. Let's talk about pick one, right? There's a market value for different levels of career, different levels of achievement. And there's a market value for experience and time, and then just an industry standard in the first place. And no two are the same. Like there's no two that are the same. And so if somebody is going to be, I don't know, let's say somebody is going to be an Uber driver, for argument's sake, okay? Or a taxi driver.
People aren't going on Brad Pitt's Facebook page and screaming and yelling at him because he made $21 million for a picture. It's just not happening.
I did it. I yelled at him because he fired Art Howe. I got pissed. I didn't understand why Art Howe got fired. And
that was a bad example. Denzel Washington.
Man on fire.
And here's another thing that I'm surprised by, Jeremy, is that you've got some of our minor league teams now. Sugarland, the Space Cowboys. We're excited to announce to our fans that our inaugural season will start on time with an April 5th road game against the River Cats. The Corpus Christi Hooks doing the same thing. We will start on time. I'm also surprised by that as well, that the minor league teams are going out of their way to say it's just them. It's not us, considering that, Major League Baseball has taken over the minor leagues, if you will.
Control. Yeah. I feel like they're doing that because they have a chance to capitalize on some fan interest that's not there. But that said, people that don't go to AAA games aren't going to start. That's not the way it works. People that go to AA games are just not going to start. So those fan bases are going to be what they are anyway. No one's going to miss the Corpus Christi Hooks to watch the Astros on TV in Corpus Christi. It's not going to happen. They're going to go to the Hooks game and they're going to go, they'll watch the highlights later. So, I understand why they're doing it. Minor League Baseball and Major League Baseball as a whole is just a very interesting and different time, and it's just kind of goes hand in hand with the times we're living in today as a whole, right? I mean, politically, you got what's going on. You got we're coming out of a pandemic, which is now an endemic now. You've got something going on in Europe that's a pretty big skirmish. And now we got the lockout. We got so many things are happening now. It's just such an interesting time and all these different places to do it. I would think the owners would care. And there is a point they're going to care, Jason. There is a point they're going to care. And I know where that point is. It's going to happen. There's a point they're going to care and they're going to want this to end. And the players just might go ahead and hold it off a little bit longer to teach them a lesson. And you know what? If you're a fan, you should be pulling for that. You shouldn't be pulling against it.
You need to expand on that. What do you mean there's a point? What would the point be?
There is a point in baseball. Okay, so let's go back to 2020, year one of the pandemic. Okay, spring training stops. We play 60 games. Players and owners go back and forth with salaries. No fans in the stands. A lot of marketing contracts didn't get paid out. The owners didn't necessarily lose. I mean, I'm sure they lost some money. Everybody lost some money, but the owners didn't necessarily lose money like they say they did. They lost projected profits, right? They lost what that was going to be. Salary cuts were had across organizations. A lot of people downsized and they do what they had to do to get by. And I say get by loosely. Here you are in 2022. You had 2021, which was mostly a year. First of all, there wasn't a chance to do any of what they're doing right now, but it was a year where everything was mostly back. Fans were back in the stands. They had a full year of baseball. Okay. Now you're in 2022. You have a CBA that expires. You can build on 2021. You can see how things go after 2021 as far as what your projections are for this year. You fighting for expanded playoffs. You're going to get at least 2 more teams, which I think is awful. They should go the other way, go to 8 teams, but they're at 12. Here's where this gets interesting. The owners have a point in the season where even with all the money they're saving on salaries, workers, people working the concession stands, ticket booths, whatever they're paying for, electricity, all these things they're saving on, right? They have a point in the season where they're going to start losing money. And that's at roughly 140 games, 142, 138, maybe 135, but roughly in that ballpark. The owners can afford to miss spring training, have none of those costs, right? And turn around and miss 3 weeks of the season before it starts hurting. That's when marketing money kicks in. That's when TV money goes the other way. They need to kind of punt this thing down the road to start right after about April 15th. If they can get those back without those salaries, and they start spring training, let's say in March, 17, and they train for 3.5 weeks and they go straight into the games, they don't care. They've got that money back. The spring training revenue is nothing what it's like in the season. They've got that money back, and then they're inching themselves back to where they're going. And if I'm the players, since I know this ownership group, and specifically the commissioner, who, by the way, works for the owners, and Major League Baseball as a whole, has been bent on control in the amateur space, in the international space. And I'm going to tell you firsthand that I am absolutely certain from experience that what is going on in some branches of the governing body, not everybody, some branch of the governing body is wholly bent on control because they think of revenue. All right. So if you're looking at MLB as a whole, and you see what some of the ways that I struggle with this, because there's really some good people in the offices, there really are, who have been great to me and who have been great to people around them and are more interested in doing the right thing for the game, and they know who they are if they hear this. There's some other people who just aren't, that MLB is involved with. And that I'm going to say. And because that's a flow when it comes back around, the reality is the control they try to get is what they're trying to do now. And if I was the players, I teach them a lesson. If the deal wasn't going to be anything better than what I was going to get, and I need to get my guys back on the field, that's a decision Tony Clark's going to have to make. But if it's me, and I'm Scherzer and I'm the other guys, I'm bringing everybody together, and I can't say, look, this is their point they start to hurt. You want to go ahead and get the deal that we want to go ahead and get? They're trying to bust our union up. Let's wait till after this point. We're the ones that fans want to see. Let's go out there and we'll be open. We're going to go ahead and take care of the fans. But this has to stop. These guys that are making us feel or paying us in this, use Brad Pitt as an example, as a movie. Every night in the Major League Stadium is a movie. It's a movie every single night. And if you're going to a Major League ballpark and you don't understand that, don't go. Like, stop going. So players deserve to be paid their fair share of the dollar for being the attraction you're going to see. And that's what this is about, just like any other industry.
So just to be clear, you believe that the owners and Major League Baseball needs around 140 games to be played to be profitable, or to meet the projected revenue or the expected revenue
before they start losing money in their terms. That's the number. Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark. And I think, again, that's all. It's relative, to each club, but as a whole, that's the number.
And really what you're talking about was what Baseball America reported on, was the one baseball plan that basically Major League Baseball would be the top of, or it would be an umbrella, and Major League Baseball would be at the very top, and it would cover all of that. And I see what they've done with the minor leagues, and we've all seen what they've done with the minor leagues. And if you don't think that that's part of their plan, shame on you. Shame on you.
Let's go with that. That was well said.
Hey, while we've got a few minutes left, while we have a few minutes left, I pulled up an old scouting report from 2013, and we'll get through this one quickly. An outfielder drafted in the first round. It's interesting. You had him in the first round as well. I'm going to give you the comp, and let's see if you can get it. Rusty Greer.
Billy McKinney.
Yes, man, you're good.
Remember that.
Really, with Billy McKinney, at the major league level, plate discipline has been a huge issue.
Yeah, I did not. I look, that's what, remember we talked about respect reports? Somebody was going to take him in pretty good, and they did. I think it was Oakland, took him pretty good. And I have a ton of respect for Armand Brown, the guy that signed him. He's such a good scout. Billy McKinney wasn't something that I really wanted. I didn't fight for him. You put him on your list and you just kind of go, I get it. I see it. Let's go from there. Watching him in high school games, he took his walks. He took pitches just off the plate. He didn't chase much. He doesn't go in the first round if he does. Once he got out, though, there was something going on that probably nobody saw, hence the need for better, deeper insights into that stuff, and he hasn't performed. But Billy McKinney had the tools, the ability to hit. I didn't think it was an impact bat. I thought Rusty Greer was a very solid and very good player, and that was what I thought Billy's ceiling was.
And I think overall, best case scenario, Rusty Greer was a pretty good one.
Well, I appreciate that. From time to time, I get a comp out there right.
Once in a while. All right, Jeremy. It's been a while, but it's good that we're back, and hopefully we'll be back more in a regular fashion. So go ahead. I didn't know if you had something to add.
This is our time. This is our time every year where we're, it's a little bit slower. I get myself going for the year. I'm kind of ramping back up, and I got some projects that are coming out down the pike here in a little bit that I've been working on. I got another company that's coming out. How about that? Yeah, it's coming out, right? We've talked about that. That's right here. I've got, I believe there might be some written word that's coming out at some point, some lengthy written word that should be here in the next couple of months. And, of course I get to spend, I got the series and the international side. It's just, this is the time that I get that rolling, right? We got scout school. It's almost completed. I do all of this, Jason, all of this, so I can clear up baseball season with you every single day. That's what I do. And now
And that's why we love you. They're turning off the lights on me, Jeremy. So I think that is the cue. That's another edition. That's a wrap on Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth.
Night.